the effect of social media on the world, and especially Twitter. And I thought it was very important for that it be a maximally trusted sort of digital public square where people, within countries and internationally could communicate with, the least amount of censorship allowed by law. Obviously, that varies a lot by jurisdiction, but I think in general, social media companies should adhere to the laws of countries and not try to put a thumb on the scale beyond the laws of countries. I think this is something that is probably agreeable to the legislators and the people of most countries. So I think that's the general idea, is just to reflect the values of the people, as opposed to imposing the values of essentially San Francisco and Berkeley, which are somewhat of a niche ideology as compared to the rest of the world. But Twitter was, I think, doing a little too much to impose a niche, San Francisco Berkeley ideology on the world. I thought it was important kind of for the future of civilization to try to correct that thumb on the scale, if you will, and just have Twitter more accurately reflect, like I said, the values of the people of Earth. That's the intention, and hopefully we succeed in doing that.
Sure. But how do you see Twitter? If we say 5 years down the road, what's your vision for this platform? What should it do?
Well, I think it'd be, I'd like to, have this sort of long-term vision for something called X.com from way back in the day, which is kind of like a sort of like an everything app, where it's just maximally useful. It does, payments, so it provides financial services, provides information flow, really anything digital, and also provides secure communications. So really I think be as useful as possible, as entertaining as possible, and also to be like a source of truth. Like if you want to find out what's going on and what's really going on, then you should be able to go on X, the X app, and find out. So it's a sort of source of truth and a maximally useful, I guess app is about the wrong word, but system. And Twitter is essentially an accelerant to that sort of maximally useful everything app. Yeah.
How you are gonna? I mean, if you look at Twitter today, I mean, it's a platform. Sometimes there is a lot of misinformation in Twitter. Sometimes I don't feel comfortable even because there is some way there is this negative between nation, between people, between different ethnic. How you are going to fix this issue where you are on a mission for humanity to get them together?
Yeah, I think there's something that we're putting a lot of effort into called community notes. It's currently just in English, but we will be expanding it to all languages. That is, I think, quite a good way to assess the truth of things, where it's the community itself, basically the people of Earth who are basically, not exactly voting, but competing to provide the most accurate information. So it's sort of a competition for truth. And I think it's a very powerful concept to have a competition for truth. And because you can also say, like, what is true? It's because what may be true to some may not be viewed as true to others. but you want to have the closest approximation of that. So I think the community notes thing is very powerful. I think the trying to have as many organizations and people and institutions verified as being legitimately those people and organizations is important. And to have the organizational affiliation clearly identified, so that if you want to find out if somebody's actually, if an account is actually, say, from a member of parliament or a journalist, or if a, let's say, if a Twitter handle is actually belongs to, say, Disney Corporation or something like that, you can go on Twitter and it's sort of an identity layer of the internet, and you can confirm that that is in fact the case. And I think once you've got these sort of interlocking sort of identities, it's actually very hard to be deceptive in that case, because and it's also, you have a reputation to protect at that point. So I think then people are far more likely to be measured in their response, and be more reasonable, since they have reputational value at that point. So these are some of the ideas that I have. And, I'm not saying that for sure it will succeed or that it's going to be perfect, but I am confident that it will, over time, head into a good direction. And I think the evidence for that will be, do people find it useful? As we're measuring sort of the total user minutes, but not just user minutes, unregretted user minutes is, I think, the key figure of merit. Because well, for example, TikTok has a very high usage. I often hear people say, well, I spent 2 hours on TikTok, but I regret those 2 hours. I'm not trying to knock TikTok, but it's just, we don't want that to be the case with Twitter. We want to say, like, okay, you spent half an hour on Twitter, but you found it to be useful and entertaining and a good thing in your life. And ultimately be a force for good for civilization. That's the aspiration.
Thank you. Elon, we have over 150 government within the World Government Summit, global leaders. They have 8 billion customers, their citizens. How government can use Twitter better to serve its citizens?
Yeah, well, I think generally I would recommend really communicating a lot on Twitter, and I think it's good for people to speak in their voice as opposed to how they think they should speak. Sometimes like people think, well, I should speak in this way that is expected of me, but it ends up sounding, I think, at times somewhat stiff, and not real. If you read a press release from a corporation, it just sounds like propaganda. So I would encourage CEOs and of companies and legislators and ministers and so forth to speak authentically, and to if there's a particular policy, to explain it, and I think there's sometimes a concern about criticism, but I think at the end of the day, having some criticism is fine. It's really not that bad. I'm constantly attacked on Twitter, frankly, and I don't mind. You have to be somewhat thick-skinned, I suppose, at times. Just because they really will try to twist the knife. But I think just like I said, just as a forum for communication, it's great, and I would just encourage more communication, and like I said, to sort of speak in an authentic voice. Like sometimes people will have someone else be their sort of Twitter manager or something like that, and I think people should just do their own tweets. It sounds. And like sometimes you make a mistake or something, it's fine. But I think just doing your own tweets, just like you would do your own, you'd give a talk here, or you would have a meeting at a summit or something. I think that's the way to do it. Is to actually do the tweets yourself, and convey the message that you want directly. Yeah. So, but I mean, one thing I should say. I know this is called the World Government Summit. But I think we should be maybe a little bit concerned about actually becoming too much of a single world government. If I may say that we want to avoid creating a civilizational risk by having, frankly, this may sound a little odd, too much cooperation between governments. If you look at, say, at history and the rise and fall of civilizations, that really all throughout history, civilizations have risen and fallen, but it hasn't meant the doom of humanity as a whole, because there've been all these separate civilizations that were separated by great distances. And so, say like while Rome was falling, Islam was rising, and so you had like the sort of caliphate doing incredibly well, while Rome was doing terribly. And that actually ended up being a source of preservation of knowledge and many scientific advancements. And so, so I think we want to be a little bit cautious about being too much of a single civilization, because if we are too much of a single civilization, then if the whole thing may collapse. I'm obviously not suggesting war or anything like that, but I think we want to be a little bit wary of actually cooperating too much. It sounds a little odd, but we want to have some amount of civilizational diversity, such that if something does go wrong with some part of civilization, that the whole thing doesn't collapse, and humanity keeps moving forward.
Thank you. I hear you. I agree and disagree with you at a certain point, and I think today people, they don't fight with sword anymore. I mean, they have nuclear weapons. So if there is this conflict, the whole civilization will be gone. The whole human civilization will be gone. And what we are trying to do here at the Emirates actually is to do exactly what you are saying. We have 180 nationality. You have every single race, every single religion, and we're trying to create a model that shows the world that it doesn't matter who you are, what your color, what's your religion, where you're from, humanity can live in peace and harmony.
I mean, that would be great.
My last question, I'll go to Twitter again, then we'll move out of Twitter if you allowed us. I mean, you've been running Twitter as the chairman, as the owner, as the CEO, and that's take a lot of time. Did you identify a CEO, and when you are going to hire him?
Well, I think I need to stabilize the organization and just make sure it's in a financially healthy place, and that the product roadmap is clearly laid out. So I don't know. I'm guessing probably towards the end of this year would be good timing to find someone else to run the company, because I think it should be in a stable position around at the end of this